Hey, what's going on everyone? Dre here, and today we're going to be switching things up yet again, and we're going to be talking about a game cliche. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and say thank you for those who have already subscribed. We are at 56 subscribers so far. Thank you so much. Gotta keep pumping those numbers up, but hey, we're getting there, right? So like I said, I want to talk about one of those video game cliches, and just like in movies, there are many cliches. I mean, that's really a reason why they're a cliche. But the one that I want to talk about is when you lose all your gear. I was replaying some Red Dead Redemption 2, and I got to the chapter, maybe a little bit of spoiler here, but you get to a chapter where you wash up and you've lost everything that you've had so far, your money, your weapons, and all that. And that's what got me thinking into this video. Usually these are for like a mission or two, but like I said, Rockstar did go on and do a whole freaking chapter on it, and it made me think about it. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me go ahead and elaborate just a little bit on that. So I'm talking about that scenario where a lot of games like to put you where, like I said, you lose all your gear, which is your weapons, your armor, your clothes, money, and sometimes your skills as well. I notice that typically it does tend to happen around 50% or 75% of the game completion. And personally, every time I play these missions or these scenarios, they feel like you play the exact same one in other games, because like I said, basically you have. But most games tend to put their own spin on it and how you got to that point or why you're in that exact scenario. And typically they tend to do a good job explaining that and putting you in a different scenario that you weren't expecting. I personally do enjoy these scenarios. I think they're not too old or too boring to do. To me, they give me like a nice pace to the game. Like I said, usually these games kind of come halfway through the game, so it's a nice little break in between. Sometimes the grinding can get a little tedious in certain games, or just the missions. It just kind of seems like you're, just going along with the story. But when you get into these kind of missions, it kind of throws you back into perspective of all that you have done so far to get to this point where you know that if you had your gear, you could do a lot more damage or, play it more easily. It kind of seems like restarting the game, but at a point that you know how the game works. You have all the quirks figured out and how you're supposed to do things. So it kind of gives you that perspective of like, oh, if only I had this gun, or if only I had this skill, or if only I could buy my way out of it, I could, do it so much easier. But again, it just gives you that perspective of all the progress that you have done and, how much of the game you've gotten the hang of. The Assassin's Creed franchise actually does this in almost every single game. And like I said, since every game that they make changes a little bit on your skills and your weapons, it's always a little different scenario, but just good enough. Where like you don't have your hidden blade and you're having to stealthily take these guys out again, but just knocking them out. And like I said, you just wish you had your main weapon so you can just go berserk and kill all these guys. But you're put in a scenario where you giving appreciation to your gear. And like I previously mentioned, Rockstar did a whole chapter on it, and it's basically where you're in an island. And, you washed up, you've lost all your weapons, your clothes are all torn up, your health is depleted, your deadeye is really low as well, and you're having to climb your way back up. Like you start again with a Cattleman revolver, which is one of the starter weapons, and you want to have your big weapons that you had before, so you can just go ahead and take out multiple enemies. I think by far that was one of my favorite chapters in that game. And like I said, I personally just enjoy the little break that they give you in between doing all the missions or in between all the grinding and trying to push through the main story. But that was just a little rant, something just I wanted to talk about. Why not? I'm trying to do more conversational type videos on my channel, and I figure why not? It's a small little subject to start with, and I quite enjoyed it. But please, let me hear some feedback. Any subjects you guys want to talk about, any other gaming cliches, or things in a game that, might be worth a little talk or two. But anyways, I'm Dre. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Till next time, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, evening, midnight, whatever. Just make sure it's great.